just something so appealing and fun about a barn find. We were digging 2 other barn finds out, and this barn was inside the other barn. It's kind of weird situation where we had to get back there and get this thing out. This is a 1925 McCormick Deering 1020. This thing was restored back in the early 70s, taken to some shows, and then it was parked in the late 70s and kind of sort of tucked back and forgotten about. Now the interesting thing about getting this one out of there is it was parked, it was driven and parked where it was. It was kind of a difficult situation getting it out of there. What we ended up having to do, and I hate to kind of do it on a tractor, I feel like the tolerances are nice and sloppy enough. It was a nice dry environment, but the only way we were able to get it out of there was throw this thing in 3rd gear and crank it over by hand to get it pulled out and out into where we could get another tractor to yank it out of the barn there. We're really excited to attempt to get this thing running and driving for the first time in 45, 46 years. Of course, you know, we normally like to pull the spark plugs and soak the cylinders down. It was kind of a last ditch effort to get this thing out of there. This is a 4,000, maybe 4,400 pound tractor, and there was just no way to get it out of there other than cranking it over. The only thing is, I was the starter. But first things first, I would just like to go ahead and get these spark plugs pulled. I want to get an idea of the condition of the combustion chamber. It felt really good. It sounded really good. I'd say we're okay there, but let's go ahead and do that just so we can check out the spark plugs and everything too. There's some cool old spark plug wires. It's actually a 15/16. Good grief. What a spark plug. You don't have to have a camera or anything for this. It's got an observation hole. I think you can fit your whole head down that spark plug hole. Need a little cleanup, but you know. No moisture so far, that's good. Not too shabby. Everything looks great in there. Looks like some signs of maybe just the lightest surface stress right at the top and kind of on top of maybe the pistons, where as we rocked it over had some on the valves that dropped down, but nothing looks bad at all. It's really neat being able to see everything down in there. I know we've already turned it over some. It was just kind of what we had to do, but I do want to go ahead and soak everything down a bit just for some added insurance in case those rings are still a little stuck. Hopefully that'll help break anything free that might need to be freed up. That's easy with no spark plugs in it. We're spinning over. Before we do too much more, I'd like to go ahead and just drain the oil in this thing and get some fresh in there. If something's gonna have sludge in it, something like this old tractor, it's a good possibility. And I'd rather be safe than sorry. We don't want any kind of oil starvation issues. So let's go ahead and get up under there and let's get the oil drained out of this thing. Oh, that's so cool. Look at that. Huge. Look at the size of that crank. Thing looks pretty good. It's old and probably had 2 oil changes in its entire 100-year life. Oh. Perfect. I wonder if it's got sludge in it. Wow. Can I have something to poke the oil out with, please, sir? Oh, there ain't nothing wrong with that. The oil's actually pretty nice. That came out, you know, after the sludge. Holy sludge. Hate to have to do it, but I hate to take a chance of having oiling issues. There's just so much sludge and crud, but that's such an easy pan to pull. There's nothing to come out of the way. It's a dead flat pan, and it's just the 12 or 14 bolts around right there. Pretty simple to pull. We should probably just pull it and really clean that pan up and go ahead and get a new pan gasket in it. Hate to do that before we've heard it run, but it's something that's been around 100 years. We want to take our time with this one and make sure we go about it right, because we want it to be around for another 100 years. Pretty crazy. 3 minutes and we are dropping the pan. Oh, there ain't no sludge in there. Oh my gosh. Do you see all that? I don't want to stick my finger in it, but I want to just, oh my goodness.
It's always what gets you in trouble.
Yeah, that oil pan needed to be dropped. How neat is it looking up inside this thing? So serviceable, so work-onable, so awesome. Dad found this stuff on top of the tray. That's not bearing though. It's like worn. What in the world is that? Everything up there just looks awesome. Pistons look wonderful. The cam shows signs of wear, as to be expected. While waiting on the few odds and ends to get the bottom end here put back together, I would like to go ahead and check and see if we can get fire, just in case we need to get anything for that coming as well. And there you see our points. I'm gonna clean that up just a smidge it. They seem to be doing something. I've got us advanced. Everything's moving there. Let's see if it happens to pop at all. Original to the tractor, these Dixie Aero 46C magnetos look pretty simple. Our points look good now. I do want to go ahead and pull our cap and take a look and see if there's any kind of connection issues or anything, any kind of crust in there, because as you can see, this thing is a little bit crispy. All the brass here and everything has corroded and is kind of looking pretty grimy. I don't know. That's pretty surprisingly clean. I'm gonna think we probably have a coil issue. Before we move any farther ordering anything, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this valve cover. We found all those little bits of random metal down in the bottom of this oil pan. It's concerning, but at the same time, everything looks so good underneath. And it doesn't even look like something that you'd find from this engine, and that's why I'm so confused. To me, it looks like even potentially it was in some old oil or something that they poured down in this thing, or it's some old cotter pins. I just want to make sure that it's nothing in the bottom end. I don't think it's anything in between. Maybe it's a spring that came apart, but it just looks too small and dainty to be spring material. But we at least need to check and see. Those look good. Valve springs look good. Got some sloppy valves. Keepers look good. Man, I just don't think that stuff came from this engine. There's just no way. Pretty neat. There's your little oil trough. And that's where you take and put oil in your top here, because I believe all of this is, you oil it from up here before you run it. Here's the problem we're running to with fire. Everything looks actually pretty good. As far as points and everything go, everything's moving really well. It's actually a really nice looking piece, and I imagine was probably restored back in the 70s when this thing was restored. But we do not have fire at all. There is a specialist that takes care of these. It's Rudy at Rebuilt Mags. I'm going to reach out to him today. We'll probably just go and pull this thing off. He only charges $45 to go through, test, and see what the issue is, and then we can figure out where we need to go from there. But he specializes in this. He has the equipment to take care of stuff like this, and I think it's just going to be the best and the safest way to go about taking care of this magneto. Hold up just a smidge more. Oh, and hold on. You want your advance all the way retarded. Come on, come on. All right, right there. That would look correct. Pretty simple. Dang, that thing's clean. Condenser, July 25th, 1916. So that's definitely a new condenser. I just got off the phone with Mr. Rudy, and he gave me some awesome information to start digging into these. Everybody uses him, and with that, he's about 3 or 4 months out. That might be an option, but I sure would prefer making this one work here and make sure our wire running through has good continuity, and it's not. It does. With the points broken, we have no continuity. With them closed, we have continuity. So they're making and breaking. It's amazing just how good a condition everything here is for being well over 100 years old. Before we go replacing this coil, because it really doesn't look, I don't know, it doesn't look great, but it's worth a try. What most commonly fails, I feel like, in your normal ignition system is a condenser. This one's cool. It's definitely going on the shelf. 1916, but potentially bad. You cannot get a replacement condenser, obviously, but what you can use right here is an anode or a resistor. And this is a 0.033K 630 volt resistor. And we're gonna try this in place of that and see if it'll work. I can get it to hang out under here just for testing purposes. There we go. And then we'll find out if it actually even does anything. So I'm gonna show you something real quick. If you take this and you spin it the correct direction, the sucker's popping like crazy. Condenser for the win. And there's my cute little connector. Ready to go. Get this thing put back on the tractor. Sludge cleaned out. Pan looks about as good as you'd expect a 100-year-old tractor pan to look, as long as it holds oil or sludge. Fordson House went ahead and sent us out a new gasket. We can go ahead and get this gooped up, put on, get this thing put back on the tractor. So it's at least to there. These are in pretty rough shape. And so we went ahead and got a new set of trough felts here. These are the little things once you fill these up with oil. This will sit here and dab the oil down on all your rockers. Take and trim down the ends so they fit right there. We're oiled up, turning over, firing. Before we start messing with this fuel system, we have these right here, and those are little primers. We can fill them up with fuel, open them up, they'll run straight down on the cylinders. See if this thing will pop off. Try to start. I heard it. Golly! Don't hurt yourself. Your turn.
I'm old, I can't do that.
I think it'll run with some fuel in the carburetor. That thing is so neat. Old school Imperial water separator. And then of course our filter, and that tank is gross. Not rusty, but gross. But even if we can get temporary fuel here for now, I think we can make something happen. Goodness. Heck yeah, it is. That is a cap. It's got to weigh 5 pounds. Whew. Already catching a whiff. That looks good.
Woo! It took off. It went,
I know it wants to. Here you can see your sediment screen. Shoo, that's a homemade gasket. I think maybe we'll try to make another homemade gasket for it. Basically, the only thing in this carburetor that has to function is this needle and seat and float. And as clean as this thing is, we're gonna try to put fuel to it and see what it does. Best thing to do, and more than likely what we'll end up doing, is pulling it, cleaning this, making this carburetor look really nice, and we'll get a new gasket here, and then we'll do a brass float. It may already have one, but that's something that's been pretty common, and back in the day, more than likely they didn't have access to, and so it's probably the original cork float. Temporary fuel system in place. It's raw. Well, I do believe we got her flooding out just a wee bit there. Oh yeah. Don't move at all. Oh. Ooh, needle valves. Okay. Float is just not working. Right there. Let's get that hanging. The only problem with this is it does not come out without pulling this screw here. And I don't think we want to do that because it will not go back.
it does that. It throws you out of sync.
I just don't think, especially now we're getting this thing to turn over enough to pop off. I think once we get everything running, all the rings freed up, everything seated back in nicely, this thing will run good, just like cars. Sometimes you got to turn them over and turn them over and turn them over. And we just can't do much more. So I think we're gonna pull it around a little bit, the yard here, and see if it'll pop off. Here's where this gets interesting. The clutch is stuck. So over time, rust, maybe mouse nest, has actually rusted the clutch disc to either the pressure plate or the flywheel. Normally you'd get something running, you'd start it up in gear, you'd slam on the brakes and the clutch at the same time. Sometimes the brake's free. I guess we could do that dragging this thing around. That's probably what we should probably get the clutch free before we start it, because if this thing decides to go, which that tractor is way faster than this one, but I still wouldn't want to go running Dad over. Did you take the brake? Yeah, you took the brake off. All right, hold on. Pull me a little bit. It broke free. It broke free already. Heck yeah, man. Look at all the mouse mist that blew out. Just like what we saw in the Monaco, just packed full. Sounded pretty good though. All it took was a little bit of extra oomph that we couldn't give it, and it runs. Look how it pumping oil, super strong. I say pumping oil, it just barely pumps the oil and it runs in those troughs and it slings it. It's an oil sling system. No knocking that you could tell by any means. No major knocking. And we just drove this thing. 99-year-old tractor tucked in a barn since the late 70s. And it runs and drives. That was too much fun. I know a lot of what we work on technically is a lot newer than this, but I know I personally, and I think Dad really enjoys digging in and diving into this old stuff, technology like this thing. This thing is made to last virtually forever. 99 years. It had clearly been restored at some point, but still most of the technology, most everything here, the electrical system, the fuel system, was all original on this thing. It runs pretty good. We definitely have to get into that carburetor. I'm gonna order a new brass float and a few other odds and ends. We'll clean out our tank, we'll get all that taken care of, and then we should be able to actually run this thing. It's running really good other than running out of fuel. Our temporary fuel system here is only made to run a short ways, but I really hope you all did enjoy the rescue. Dragging this thing out of the barn where it'd been since the late 70s. Little tricky getting it out of there. We're so glad we did, and we really hope you all enjoyed. If you have, and you enjoy seeing rescues like this, you want to see other rescues similar, dragging things out of barns, woods, fields, pulling out of a lake, be sure to subscribe button, notification bell, and if you happen to part of the channel, we do appreciate it so incredibly much. That's gonna wrap it up for this video. Peace out, and catch you all on the flip side. I definitely think we should go ahead and give this thing a bath though. For over 40 years of sitting and being a 99-year-old tractor, it's a pretty darn nice first cleanup. And to me, a little bit of buffing, a little bit of waxing, but as far as the patina, the oil goes on it, it's like the perfect amount of usefulness. We can actually run this thing around, use it a little bit, take it to some shows, and it not be completely pristine, because at the end of the day, it's still an old tractor.